Jamie has been on the show previously. We talked about her story. It's incredible. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Today is going to be very different than most of the previous podcasts. We won't be doing so much of an interview of her. She got in contact with me because she's been having premonitions like over the years. Now we're starting to see things come to light. I think she's also having more premonitions now. We don't really have a game plan, sort of, kind of, not really. Just roll with us. We'll see how this goes. And just so everyone that didn't watch the first interview knows, I just want to be clear and stress that I don't take what she has to say lightly. She's a dream interpreter. I don't want to get any of this wrong. She's an intuitive therapist, psychic medium, remote viewer. One of the my favorite things that you do, Jamie, is you call it a feeler and a finder. She helps investigative teams and families find missing people. So I'm going to put the ball in your court at this point. I don't know where it's best for you to start.
Thank you so much. So there's a lot happening in our world right now. And one of those things is something that I've been talking about very notably on my Facebook Lives, on different platforms. I was able to locate one of my readings on the YouTube that it was a live reading, and that it was so many years ago that it's choppy. It was just straight through. And in that video is what's, I believe, happening now. And that is the fault line issue. And so in that video, I speak of the Oregon and Washington coastline, and I talk about how anxiety works. I went to school for 6 years for psychology. I worked in the field. I have done all of this. I just sit on the other side of the desk now. And I also want to issue a trigger warning for whatever may come out. I think that's important. The truth is often very difficult to accept. I'm not saying that it's not acceptable. It's just hard to conform in a world where everything has been so ingrained for centuries. And right now, one of those things that I feel needs to be talked about is I also do receive astrology. And so, yes, I did go to school for that as well later on, like a few years ago. However, I more receive it. And so this today is going to be all about whatever I receive psychically. Also with this, I feel like I want to come from a space of the emotional being, the empath who for so many years has been downplayed, restricted, made to think that there was something wrong with us. You know, that whole statement where, oh, don't be so sensitive. I was joking. The tides are turning. The tides are turning and we're seeing it. And so coming back now, circle, and I can get really scattered because when everything comes in and I have my notes in front of me, which are all downloads over the last month, it can feel really winded. So bear with me, please. It's a wake-up call. We're receiving a wake-up call. What that video on the YouTube talks about with those fault lines is we are all anxiety. And at that point, of that recording, I talked about being able to stop this from happening, to curb our anxiety, to go within, because that's where it starts. Well, now, because we are all energy, we're seeing the increase of energy. And so nothing affects everything more than anxiety. And so that puts pressure on those fault lines. And so what I see is those fault lines being disrupted so much that it sets off, in short, tsunami, because there's so many other things along with this, but tsunamis that come down the Oregon, Washington coastline. There's Seattle, there's Rainier, there's Helens. You come down through Portland, you hit the gorge where we have Mount Hood and Mount Adams behind me and Mount Hood in front of me. And then if it just keeps on going, I mean, this sets off earthquakes, essentially, right? And so, which make the volcanoes go. And so then if it keeps going, we're in the ring of fire. And so as it stands right now, somebody reached out to me who I spoke with a long time ago about this, like a biologist and geologist, they're a team, and told me, like, this is happening. And so that is when I began to a little bit panic because when you receive what I receive, I'm one of those people that there's some receivers that are like, oh, this is so good, blah, blah, blah. I, for some reason, receive the things that I hope I'm completely wrong about. That's what I receive about death, about the missing, about storms, these things. I dream it, I see it, it comes true, and I'm always so elated when it doesn't. I thought we got past it. I didn't really think we got past it, but it had been 6.5 years. So I laid it to rest a little bit and just didn't want to put my energy on it. So in alchemy, there's chaos and there's order. And we recently have felt this Saturn and Neptune 0 degrees in Aries. Why is this such a big deal? It's such a big deal because the last time that this happened was March 2nd, 4,361 BC. That is the same energy that we're in now. It's where humanity essentially begins and its history. So it predates, and this is a trigger warning, the Old Testament, which means also, like I've said in my readings before, it's pre-Egyptian. It is proving the Bible's a lie. And so that does not mean that there's not a higher power, that there's not a God, or I don't want to discredit that. I believe in it. I've read the Bible front to back multiple times. I will say you can't. I mean, there's no combating that. And so there's a shedding of the skin. And the shedding of the skin is the chaos, this snake that we move into now, the horse. And so we're not just roaring into the year of the horse like we're seeing all these people be like, yes, we're doing it now. Like, whoa. We have to pull the reins because that if we take off, like I'm also past track runner. If we take off at full sprint, like that's not sustainable. And so you have to be very, very careful. And so this is adaptive. We are in a time that we're using all of our life skills that it's basically wisdom over wound. Mm-hmm. And we're no longer accepting the bare minimum because we're now realizing, those who have put in the work, and even more so, there are, with this Pisces energy right now, at the time of this recording, we have Neptune, Saturn, and, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank of who's in Pisces right now. Neptune, anyway, it'll come to me. It's observation. We're realizing who we've taken advantage of in certain situations. And so now that then allows us to really be able to fully understand who is taking advantage of us, right? And so, because everything's a mirror in our life. And so we're seeing that, and we're seeing the greed. And so right now of this recording, it's Mercury retrograde, and it is in the zodiac. That's the sign. Mercury is in, I knew there was a third sign, is in the zodiac of Pisces. And Pisces is the essence. Pisces are the dreams. It is the illusions. And you put that in, with Neptune, I'm also receiving Neptune and Saturn and that with that past conjunct of Aries that we had a while back, like last week, this is no things that we wanted aren't actually, we're realizing we didn't really want to begin with, because there was this unsettling and we talk ourselves into. And so that's where I'm circling back to the beginning when I said, like, we're seeing it all and things are being wiped away. These are the signs of our solar plexus. And so we could be feeling really fired up, having digestive issues, and realizing we need to be more emotionally disciplined, yet still intelligent. And we are realizing that we're not fragile, those empaths, those too sensitive people. And so this is the tides turning. This is the knowing that we can't be numbing anymore with that Pisces energy, whether it be through substance or how we talk to ourselves for numbing. Maybe there's, I'll just watch this movie right now and then I won't have to think about that. We're not, it just is, we're at this space where it's not going away because it now is circling back and causing more anxiety and pressure on the fault lines. So it is all connected. And so when we are observing all of this, we are realizing that we're not putting ourselves first. Isn't an arrogance. It is a just not allowing ourselves anymore to, we're not allowing dysfunction in our lives, because that just leads to the disrespect where we're too sensitive, or, you know. And so that's the alchemy. There's chaos and then there's order, and things are falling in to order. But first, before we get to order, there has to be chaos. And so things feel really messy right now. And so there's this knowing of those who use empathy as a way of life, because it's learned, it's just who they are. They don't, there's a frequency shift, and it doesn't mean that people are going to perhaps die. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we are also in the same energy of the Black Plague, and that is playing out in a way that those who aren't on the same frequency, it's not that they're totally dying away, though I think we're going to see a lot of them do. It's not sustainable, like that track meet that I was just mentioning, right? It taking off like the horse, like it's not sustainable. But they'll be there living, believing whatever they want to believe, while the others are resonating in the truth and speaking more of it. So we're going to see defenses rise. We're going to see patterns show up in people that are refusing to grow, yet say they are. That's just how I am. That's going away. So we are also in this time of Nostradamus predicted the biggest things would happen in this cycle. And now there have been 3 cycles since that prediction. And so 3 cycles since the Civil War. And so we are in that cycle. We are in the Mongols, the dynasty. If we go way back, the Byzantine times, this is the ignition of the beginning of our new zodiac year, and the horse. And so it's very much, we're moving from water and earth, which is very internal, to fire and air, which is movement. And we're moving about, it's like time is there and it's relevant, but it's falling. That's also falling. And so that's the order part, and that's the chaos at the same time. It's like, it's the illusion. It's that Piscean wiping away of this, anything that we've been taught as a false construct, or like a
false belief
institution, you know, that's falling away. And so that's what we're seeing also with the presidency. And this is also going to be trigger warnings. But I also talked about this 6 years ago in a bunch of my readings that were live and that have been removed, is that I said in many of my readings that I believe that though Trump will be in the White House as our president, there'll be somebody else acting for him and making the choices. And then Elon Musk came along. And now I also said during that time back then, and I still stand by it, that main person will dissipate, and then it's going to be more like like a people governed. Yes, maybe there'll be a leader, and I don't believe it's going to be him. I think there's going to be a change. It's going to happen, and maybe we talked about this in the last interview too. How I originally thought it was going to be somebody like, we're going to have a group of people like Bernie and Marianne Williams, like whoever. It's going to, Jasmine Crockett is a big one. And with that, I got huge goosebumps. I think that there's going to be a huge shift into that role where, yes, they're the ones that are going to be the acting, but they get the votes. So voting will be more frequent because they want to hear for the people, not against, like what we're seeing now. And so when we talk about this, well, there's just so many things, but when we talk about, and also a trigger warning here, the shot during that we had to get, and I can't say the words because it will get, who knows, taken down, but all of those things that we're seeing in the files, okay, the billionaires funded, well, there's so many billionaires in those files, and guess who backed the shot? And now we are seeing the outcome of the people that gave their children the shot. We're seeing the outcome of people who got the shot, but they're keeping it on such a low quietness that this is terrifying. This is terrifying. Those are the same people, and I said it then, and I'm saying it now, that funded that shot, and now look at what else they did. So we have to really consider that we just have to be really careful. We have to be really careful because clarity is huge right now, and it's all coming. That's that Saturn energy, ruler of Capricorn. Yeah.
With Trump, do you get any feeling that it would be Vance that steps up, or do you think it's going to be more of
No,
a structural shift?
I think this is my thought on that. And I don't want to lose it because it's just coming in. So I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off. What I am getting is they're going to make it look like he's stepping up, but he's not going to want to step up. And so something's going to happen where it's going to look like he's stepping up, and maybe we'll see him there for a few minutes. I mean, but it's not gonna last. Something's gonna happen, and it's not gonna last. That entire system is being shed along with the snake here.
so I don't know if I told you or not. When I was younger, I had visions of all of I saw war and natural disasters. And I knew that it was going to be a period that would feel like the end of the world, but that we were going to get through it. And when I was shown, I mean, it was earthquakes, volcanoes, fires, floods, war, I mean, everything. And when I was shown the flooding, and I actually haven't shared this detail with anyone. I've just said flooding, but it was actually a massive wave that I saw come in. So the tsunami really, yeah, it just, I feel the heaviness of that. Are you getting a sense of like timing on anything?
I believe that if you have not, and I want to also trigger warning. So I am by no means I am by no means one of those people that preps. Okay. I've never, not that I don't want to or that I don't believe in it. I'm not building bunkers. I'm not doing that. This is where the trigger warning comes in. If you have the opportunity to do something like that, I would not say no to it.
Mhm.
I will just say that. And I will say, this is one of those things that I am getting because I was saying this over 6.5 years ago now. This is now. So I'm expecting from now to June, I'm actually getting early June. So I hope I'm wrong. I always am hopeful that I'm wrong in these type of things. I am getting the timeline of early June. I don't have any desire to be near, I won't be visiting the ocean. Okay, even though I'm 2 hours from it, I won't be doing any of that anywhere close. I'm only 2 hours away from it. So that's already a little bit nerve wracking. I am getting the earliest from anywhere from now to the time of the first couple of weeks of June or June. I think also what I am getting is a lot of people who are prepping are getting their generators as to run off gas. Awesome, awesome. Propane, the city's gas, gasoline. Make sure you're stocked up with all of that then. Mm. The best route, in my opinion, is solar. You're going to need a solar generator, and it should not be out there in the open. This is where the clarity happens, where we understand that taking care of ourselves isn't arrogance. We have families. So if there are, I would say to make sure, and granted, if the intensity of what I'm picking up is huge, it's not even a matter, right? However, there is that part of me that feels there's going to be a trickle effect. So it's not going to be all loss all at once. Mm. So I would suggest very highly to have enough backup, and not necessarily what you like to eat, but the vitamins, what you'll need for your family for a year.
Something I've been thinking a lot about recently is how I've just been reflecting on like the fires and the floods. Whenever whenever FEMA or the government doesn't step in or they do to a certain point, I mean, I've been blown away by how much the community really does rally around each other when we need to. And I think there will be pockets. I feel like the like anything hard that we have to deal with is going to come in pockets. I don't think it's going to be like the whole world experiencing one thing at one time. And I think we're
Right.
going to be able to, yeah, just take it day by day and get through it in that way. I really, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And that's the hard part, right? Is we don't, like, I can say all this, a psychic, anybody can say these things. And I just pray that they're not true. And I hear what you're saying. That's that trickle that I'm talking about, those pockets. And so this is definitely the time to get to know your neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to need people. And that leads me into a lot of the other things that I'm feeling that are going to be happening I do believe the testing's out as far as students at school that have moved away from textbooks in a classroom and into a Chromebook. The statistics are showing these children are not statistically, they're not where the people who had textbooks are. Okay. I'm just gonna put it like that. So I do believe, along with the decline of politics in the way that we see it now in that institution, will also be the decline of social media platforms. I believe it's going to be a decline of Chromebooks in the classroom. I think if they're even doing that, if they're, I believe that we're moving into a time of ringing the doorbell again, and getting that to be more how it needs to be. I believe that this, if anything, this is going to force us back into, we're seeing I mean, the signs are there with the people who are living together in communities, growing their own food, schooling their own children. Like, this is a movement. And I have to believe, even though that's not where I'm at, not that we have to pay attention to that, because whether they realize it or not, that's happening for a reason. And so I do believe that we're going to have to you learn how our ancestors, they're learning what they're doing the way of our ancestors, and that worked. And so we are going back to that, and people that understand how that system works, they're going to be also becoming more of a teacher for the rest of us who can't keep a plant alive. you know
The biggest like shift for me started in COVID, and I'm just now like on the other end of it. And there was such a period, some people call it the dark night of the soul, the hermit. There was such a period where once you start seeing all these things happening externally, that it's the external things that get you to a point of questioning yourself and making you go within. It gets you to a point of, just like how COVID, everything felt so weird and was like, what's going on? I get the sense that there's going to be a lot of that. Us sitting back going, okay, what's going on? What does this mean? What does this mean for me as a person? Like, who am I? Who am I as a human, as a soul, all of it. I think there's going to be like a very big retreat from spending money, consuming, too much food, consuming too much TV, everything you're saying about, like the digital stuff and the social platforms and all of that. Like, I think we're gonna take a big step back. And I think it's gonna happen in like waves, it's gonna trickle, but I do think we'll see more and more people step back, and there's gonna be like just a weird period of time of almost eerie, like now what? And then I think we're gonna really, and because I think in that period is where the healing comes in, where the you're holding up the mirror to yourself and healing wounds and all of that, and freeing your mind, letting go of limiting beliefs. I think that I think we're going to see that on a collective level, where we are individually going within, taking time with ourselves, and then we're going to just kind of naturally get to a point where we unite, rebuild, and start creating um a new way. And I think we're going to very much have, because I don't think AI is going away. I don't think tech is going away, but I think we will get to a point where we're going to blend like very futuristic like ideas and capabilities with the very old natural instincts and way of being that our ancestors, did. I think it's gonna, I don't know, I think it's called solar punk. There's this organization and they have this video of, it's it's like what the future could look like. And it's anytime I've had a vision of our future, it's been very similar to this. And it looks almost like the buildings almost look high tech and like sleek and futuristic, but everything is very lush. Like there's almost like branches growing on the buildings. It's like a combination of like nature and very futuristic. I have no idea if that's where we actually end up going, how long that would take, or what, who knows. But I do in general, I get this feeling that things are gonna get so, they already are, just so in our face, so intense that we are forced to take a step back, slow down, and then we're going to end up rebuilding. Yeah.
I think that sounds beautiful. I want you to be right so much. And I want you to understand too, I'm not here trying to make, I'm not working to fear monger here. That's not what I'm trying to do.
I don't see it happening soon, quickly. What I see happening soon and quickly is everything you're saying. I think there's going to be waves of change that we see. But I think here right now, everything you're talking about is very real and valid, and I think that's what we're going to see before we see anything I'm talking about.
Well, because it has, that's what I'm talking about. It gets messy and
Yeah.
chaos before, and you know, and then the order comes. And so it's just like cleaning a house. If you're going to deep clean, you have to get everything out. It gets worse before it gets better. And then the cleanup happens. So I do see what you're saying. And maybe those are those pockets. And they, you know, and it's interesting to me that you believe that the tech is going to, because that did give me some goosebumps. And so now I'm trying to like figure out like what does that mean then? If if we're starting over, essentially a reboot, and if what I'm saying is like how is that going to work? And so I guess what's really interesting and really what I'm getting, because I'm in Oregon and we have what's called Hanford close by. And that was that science experiment that animals got, like things got loose, right? And so I guess when you were talking about that makes me feel like we're this experiment.
Mm.
We're this experiment again. And I do feel like, yes, there's the predate of the Babel, right? Of all this when it comes to that Saturn Neptune in 0 degree Aries. However, I do believe that we've already been here.
We have,
I
absolutely.
think that there's already been a mass destruction and now it's a rebuild. I don't know how else some of these buildings got built.
Right. When I say techie, I'm almost referring to like that of the sense of like the pyramids. Like to me, that
Mhm.
is, that is a high tech building. When I say we're going to use tech and AI and that kind of thing, I don't mean like on our phones. I mean in
Mhm.
more of like a structural way, like on
Yeah,
a bigger scale.
I
Less
love
less
that.
about like controlling our minds and keeping us locked on a phone, more so in a way that helps us rebuild. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I
Uh-huh.
could see that. Yeah, there is, you know, there is this system crumbling of everything that we've known. And I just feel like there's a reconstruction. It's crumbling for a reason, and that reason is because this isn't sustainable.
Mhm.
None of it is. And so there's a falling happening. And, you know, it's not that we're out of COVID times. It's very much we're still there. We're still in that. Just like the Black Plague back then around this, you know, with the same energy. It took years, hundreds of years to get more acclimated, right? To see the repercussions, to see the grow back after complete loss. And so we're still in it. And I do feel, with that being said, that something else, it's a different form. And maybe that different form doesn't have to do with, maybe it's just the greed being, maybe that's the sickness. It is the narcissistic energies and the greed that's surfacing, and that's the sickness,
Mhm.
and that ego based ailment is what's falling. And so yes, while COVID's still happening, there is also simultaneously the fall of that other sickness.
Mm,
And that's so that inner child can begin to heal,
yes.
because that's where it starts.
You saying that we will get away from tech and all of that, I could see that happening too. I feel like it's going to be one of the two. Either we're getting completely away from it, or
Mm-hmm.
we blend it with this new knowledge that we're gonna, because again, when the chaos, once that settles, we're gonna have a new, I think it's gonna soften our hearts in a way that we're gonna think about tech and all of that stuff, how we're spending our time, where we're putting our attention, all of that. I think we're going to think about that so differently. We're going to be so humbled that you know what I mean?
I wanted to just skip what I saw and go to that. Because I think there is something to what you're saying, is my point. I'm not, because, I think that it, like everything, it's part of that wisdom that I was talking about earlier, that life skill that we are taking now and putting it into use. And so what you're saying is totally valid. Uh, And there's definitely something to that. And I, I think that, yeah, maybe it's having to do with that division that's been happening, where one world is going to be that and the others are not.
Yes.
And yes, there will be parallel. It's like living in a parallel timeline. Like they're there, they're
Yes.
just not
In fact, you
a
are,
part of our.
yes. I even, and I should take it a step back, because even before like, if we look at this in like a linear way, I it's like I see us, when I say we're going to be taking a step back, I almost see like the cities becoming more active and more like the old way, more going down like the tech route. But I think we're going to see like the suburban and the rural areas. I think there's gonna be a bigger, a more stark difference between the two.
And those are the timelines that are going to be disappearing. And so, along with what you're saying, then it's perhaps that's the divide, is they're just going to kill off each other and follow that social construct, including the religion, that aspect. And I'm not downing that. I am very spiritual. Like I said, believe in that. It's just, we can't use that. I guess what I should clarify when I said that is as an excuse to, a lot of times I think that it gets used as an excuse to be more dominant. And that's just not, that's what's falling. That's
Yes.
the structure that's falling. That thought, that belief system doesn't, we're not, there's going to be that divide. There's people that are no longer responding to what happened. And because that's draining, there's just respond to what is happening. I think people are realizing the truth of all of this. I'm gonna want to move on to this that's coming in, is that there's a lot of talk of this male loneliness epidemic happening that does go along with the constructs we're talking about here. And I think that it is really important to acknowledge this, is because not all males are still following that construct. In fact, the ones that aren't are who the other ones are feeling more threatened by. And so that also ties into that male epidemic of excuses of, well, putting blame, using excuses to place blame on that, well, she was always, it was because of her or because of this. It maybe not even just her, right? Just, this was why I did that. And it's just like, well, you're still, that's falling. And so now we're able to see even the males healing, and the women are really able to look at it and say, yes, there's a male loneliness epidemic. However, what about us who were lonely during their excuses? So now it's that type of the tables turning. And so that rationale of abuse as an empath, this is what I prefaced wanting to talk a lot, come from that space of these tables turning, because we're seeing a whole new light, and you don't have to be female to see this. Okay. It's no longer, they were always such a good neighbor. Oh, but they were always such a good parent at pickup, right? Okay, what? That's my son. He's so good. No, not my kid. He doesn't do that. Right? Like that is falling away. That ideology, because there has been too much loss, too much bloodshed on the hearts of the people who have always been there supporting these people. And now that they can't, that epidemic is happening. That male epidemic is loneliness epidemic is happening because it's because they have a hard time with the fact that now we see through it, so we're holding our boundaries. This all falls into this. We didn't see them as bad, but they were also not the victims. So the roles are shifting. And so this is playing into the whole family court system is falling. The justice system that we're seeing in the having to deal with the White House situation, like it is crumbling. And we're at a crossroads of power. That's really we're at of what power means is becoming different to people. And now we're seeing that play out in the Epstein. Mm-hmm. We're seeing it play out in the White House. There's a transformation happening. Yes. And it is coming because we have the clarity from the wisdom of our lessons.
Something I see happening that you actually spoke about in our interview, you brought up how, one, we all on a collective level need to really, stand up when we need to stand. But you focused on white men in particular, how this moment in time is a time when we really need white men to start standing up for these disturbing hard things that are happening. And I don't know if you know who Sean Ryan is, but he has a YouTube channel. He's got a great podcast, and he's been bringing this stuff to light for a long time, especially things regarding, I mean, he talks about political things, religion, he talks about all sorts of things, but recently he's been focusing heavily on child abuse, sex trafficking, all that. And he's doing it in such a way that I think it's allowing other men, other white men in particular, to really get on board and get behind him. Not that I don't even think that I think there's been a lot of men who have been feeling like they want to do something, but they haven't known what to do. And I think even just the way Sean is talking and presenting, and not backing down to anything. He's been pretty fearless recently, and I think it's motivating more and more men to do the same. I do think it's just a really interesting time in terms of men starting to stand up, as well as Trump's chart is interesting right now, and all this stuff coming to light with the files, um, all sorts of things. I mean, there's a lot of people looking at Trump for a lot of reasons. And again, the astrologer that I spoke to said that he would be let's say, the target of a lot of attention. Let's put it that way. Just so this doesn't get, taken down or anything. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of people coming at him, whether that's people in the US, whether it's foreign, but it's there. Yeah.
Somebody who says they're one thing, but their actions behind closed doors don't match it. Like these are the things that are falling. And so that's going to be part of the divide. And we're going to see more and more of that shine through, because you can't hold on to belief system of one thing that your energy doesn't match. And so that is also going to, I'm receiving, very possibly be part of that next fall of those loss. They're not going to be able to handle when that comes out, especially if they're on the sidelines with signs, right? Or posting as a warrior, right? The truth always comes out. And so we're going to see a lot of, because it's just, you can't straddle both and still be a good, you can't get the best. You're just going to always be, nobody gets the best of you, right? And so if you're straddling two dynamics, especially about that, that's not sustainable, and they're gonna, those, that's gonna burn that system, those lies and deception. We're just too, we've outgrown the deception. I guess I share that because we're outgrowing the deception, and with that comes the experience, because of the experience and clarity. Now it is all connected. It is so wild. We're not gonna accept false light.
Yes.
We're gonna be very discerning, because we've had to be. And the minute we have to be, we realize that because our bodies, of how we're able to feel our body's response, even if somebody enters a room but doesn't say anything, we're gonna feel it. We're gonna know it. We have all way. I believe that we all have what you and I do. We all have access. It's just, it's been dimmed because of what we've been talking about.
Today is the sixth planet parade. And then on the 3rd of March, that's the eclipse, and it'll be a blood moon,
It's
right?
in Virgo.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a blood moon in Virgo. It's a closeout, complete shutdown. It's how we think, it's how we process, it's how we act, it's how we communicate, it's how we move through our daily life. It's not like a normal moon. It is bloodshed, tears, pain, sorrow. We're going to see a lot of people indoors. Get outside though. Make yourself be moving. Eclipses aren't about stagnancy. It's going to feel like you want to stay stagnant, but eclipses are about actually the opposite. They're about movement. This is the time. You got to move.
In general, I just want to talk about nuclear real quick because I think a lot of people, there's I don't know what people are believing, but I know the news and podcasts, and there's plenty of people that are worried about a nuclear war. In terms of just like feeling into that, like I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I don't know necessarily why, but I don't think that it's going to get to that point. What are your thoughts, your feelings? What are you picking up on in terms of that?
Well, immediately when you said that, I immediately felt, I heard they're not, but people are smart, have done enough growth all around the world that they are not unrealistic enough to see that the people aren't causing this. One person's causing this, or the government is causing it. So that's who I believe they'll go after. They're seeing, I mean, we're seeing it, and there's the goosebumps. So no, I don't believe that as of right now, I don't believe that the nuclear thing is, we don't have to worry about that. I think that if anything's going to take us out, it's what we already talked about before. And I think that what I'm receiving about that war that's happening that began today is that they're going to also be like, wait a second, like that we're fighting. Why are we doing this type thing? I mean, I think that maybe there's some valid reasons, like that's been ongoing. However, I think I think something's, this table of turns, like basically if somebody's doing wrong, use the table of turns analogy to shift the way we look at it, so that the things we look at, like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, become better in a more opportunistic light. So I think that there's gonna be a awakening of, wait a second. And then I think without knowing it,
Mm.
they're going to maybe the hope is, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking it, which is the clarifier, is they're going to freeze and Trump is going to think they're doing one thing when ultimately they're doing something that he may not see coming. But it's for the people ultimately.
That
I
makes
don't know. That's interesting. It's essentially it's a new book happening where the chapters of the old one are closed. This is a reset, as you said before. This is a reset. We got to do a slow gallop into it.
yeah.
Because you got to be really, huh. It's a factory reset, is what's happening.
I think we briefly talked about this in the interview. I just want to see if anything has shifted in terms of money, gold, silver, currency in general, the economy, anything there.
Yes, I am. And I do. And I kind of touched base a little bit about this earlier, where it's, I'm by no means a prepper. However, I do think that barter system is going to be a really big deal. People, but doing so in the use of, like, we're not going to be accepting as much as we can these big box stores. We're working to work with each other for the people. So people who, maybe it's a big business because it's grown, but they're a recycling business. They take the recycling and they make it, and their hearts are in it for the right reason. That's what it is. So, although maybe yes, there'll be still big companies, we're going more along with the flow of the ones that we genuinely know are from the heart and for the goodness. And so that bartering system, the move away from coins, I do believe that is sadly, I think, what they're going to try to take away. And I think to maintain that control, they will also try to take away cash, essentially. Like, I think that I don't know if they've stopped printing or not, but I feel like that's coming. And so we are going to be prepared like what we were talking about earlier. We're going to have to learn from, if we don't have a green thumb, we're going to be looking to those people in the communities who are growing their own food for lessons. Right. So that's the type of trade that we're looking at. Instead of using insurance, we're going to, that's backed by big pharma and big whatever it is. We're going to be looking more into trade for health benefits, such as, I'm a medical doctor and let's work this out as I need this food for my children, and it's going to be a whole, but there's going to be a system that I believe that is slowly formed
Hmm.
for that. Coffee, or things like this that people aren't going to realize they miss, but will trade for it. And if you don't, like, people are going to be using their talents and teaching each other. And that's why part of getting to know your neighbor is going to be worth it.
It's so interesting you say this because and this has nothing to do with like trying. And I don't mean just me. I mean anyone involved in these examples. It has nothing to do with like trying to save money or anything like that. But naturally, I have noticed in my life more and more people will say, "Hey, if I do this for you, will you do this?" Or and it's there's no exchange of money. And it
Right.
happens so naturally. It's the way like the conversations are coming up and how like the services or the product is being exchanged is in such an organic and natural way. It doesn't feel like a transaction. It doesn't feel like here's my money, now give me your product. And so I can absolutely see more and more of that happening. There's also this very real situation that's taking place with so many people that are being laid off of work that can't find work. The job force right now is wackadoo. I don't know what other word to use. It's wild, and I don't think the numbers that we're reporting are accurate. I think it's much harder to find work right now, and I don't even know what company. I should know this, I guess. I don't know. There's some company recently, I mean, like within like a day or two, that had laid off a ton of employees because it's going to be replacing them with AI, and their stock skyrocketed, which could really like incentivize other companies to do the same. If they see that their stock went up by letting employees go, it's like, well, why wouldn't we do that? So I could see more of like that kind of thing happening, more layoffs. I think that's going to be a big thing. And I think that in itself, like not even talking about the Ring of Fire, not talking about wars, not talking about anything else. Let's just look at jobs and the economy. That in itself, I think is going to bring out this um community of sharing and giving and exchanging and the bartering system, all of that. I really, again, going back to us relying on our neighbors, I think instead of like shopping small and local, you know how like that was a whole thing for so long and still is, but I think it's going to be that, but even in like just on a deeper level, I mean, it's going to be like neighbors, homes, shopping small and local with one another. You know what I mean? Like it's, yeah, yeah.
And also that barter and trade is, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. You nailed it when you said it, because it's from the heart. There is that division where that's still going to exist with the expectation. If there's not the expectation, it's got to be from the heart, or that expectation is, well, I expect this from you. That's that ego, right? And we have to have some of that ego to survive. It keeps us safe. So I'm not downplaying that in that way. It's the decline of um, arrogance, of the false confidence, of the expectation, because we're seeing so much of the expectation is abusive.
Yeah.
And so it has, so you nailed it when you said, I liked how you said it, it's going to come from the heart. And we're going to see that. That's going to be the difference. And that's also going to be the divide.
Yes.
And it's
Interesting.
going to be felt and it's going to be known. And so it'll be interesting for sure.
It makes sense again why there would be such a I think about um some of the things that elites, those in power have been saying, and it's just so obvious. We all know this. They are truly living in a completely different world than us. And it would make sense that there would be such a divide because there's going to be those of us who are living from the heart and it's going to flow naturally, but I think it's going to be such a struggle for those who don't know anything other than a transaction, who don't have empathy, sympathy, who literally look as everything as an object or a profit. Do you think that the divide is going to be between more so like the 1% and the 99%, like the elites and the average American, or do you think it's going to be more in between the average Americans that are dividing?
I think I'm getting both, because this is the wake up call. And if they're hanging on to what was, they're not going to make it to what is, because you can't live in the past and still expect to get the present.
Yeah.
Like you can't, that's that straddle.
I'm curious what you're picking up on in terms of the borders and immigration. Do you think things are going to get more strict with ICE and immigration and all of that? Less strict?
So I did write, I had all these notes. I did have a premonition about that, and I want to find it. However, I am also receiving something, and here I found it. This was written days ago, and I didn't date it, so I don't know what it is. But what I will say is I believe ICE will be abolished. That's what I wrote. I believe ICE is going to be abolished. I think ICE and many in the White House will face prosecution. I think that all courts are under scrutiny, family, all of it. And so I do believe that that ICE, that I think they're still there. I think that there is a slowdown. I think that there's a slowdown because there's an embarrassment around it.
Mm.
They don't, there's this my town is a safe place. They're not supposed to be here, even though they've been outside my house, parked there. But I believe that at the midterms, I do believe that, and I want to get to the borders, but I want to talk about this really fast. I believe that ICE is going to be stationed at polls at midterms. I think that I think that the efforts are going to get blocked, though. I think that the efforts are going to get blocked because the tides are turning. And so when you look at the borders, also, I do believe that there are, this is random, but I'm seeing people that work the borders letting people through secretly. I don't know what that means, but there's the goosebumps for that. I think that there's going to become more of friends versus enemies when it comes to border patrol. Venus and Mars in Capricorn too. This is like a fight for the heart because we're exhausted of the conflict that the systems, i.e. Capricorn, and the institutions are holding. So it all ties in. It's like, be careful who you're sharing your energy with, because we are realizing the dark and the light, and that's the divide.
Are you seeing anything with martial law, or where it's going to be our military has to really examine their oath?
I hear what you're saying, and I do immediately. I say yes, but I think that there's a portion. I say yes because there's a portion that is going to fall with it. I also feel that along with the military, there are the people that are see this for what it is, and they're exhausted. They just want to go home. They don't want to do this. They're not for any of this. We're seeing some of the main sideline people are veterans that they're like, what the heck, this isn't don't go down this road. This isn't why we are here. So I do feel that there were going to be a decline in the military as well, and I do feel like a lot of that is going to be, again, just like the government aspect, it's going to be the people. We're going to be, I'm hearing Mr. Rogers, we're Mr. Rogering it more, because we have to look for the helpers. It's going to be the helpers. It's going to be the knock on the door. And that's going to involve the military saying, I hear you want me to go there, and also I'm active military duty, and this is what my person is telling me to do, and it's to go to this town because they've had a flood, right? Or because, like, I'm not doing that on that land because I want to take care of our land first. And that's not selfish type thing. Another stance here is with these files, because they are so big, is where did I have notes on it? Oh, the people in the file. I think that we're going to see a possibly quite literal fall of Hollywood. I think that, I know Oprah's not in the files. However, I think because of people, and I'm using her as, yes, her. However, I also am using her as an example because I think people who affiliate with the people in the files, we're going to see them fall too. Because you can't, again, that's straddling. That we are not doing that. We are not doing that.
I really am almost relieved that all of this is finally coming to a head. Everything. I mean, the natural disasters, the files, politics, our currency, all of it. I mean, it has to. We've been living unsustainable lives, mentally, emotionally, physically, and in order to get through this, like, we have to look at it. So, I mean, I do see this as a blessing. I do see the silver lining. I see that this chaos is going to bring the change that we need, just like you said, the opportunity for change. So it is necessary. I'm glad it's happening. It's going to be difficult though. It is interesting.
It's wild out there. We have to be willing to accept that something has to change. We have to allow ourselves to assess situations and accept that our part in it. because we do all have at some point, to some extent, a part in how we all got here. It's not awesome where we're at. However, it is where we're at. And it's a cycle, and cycles are patterns. And cycles and patterns don't stop until they're recognized. We're so used to being taught to stay with what we can what's concrete versus what's not, what we can't see. And it doesn't make it what we can't see not there. It's still there. So that's this going out of the age of Pisces into this age of Aquarius too. It's like, which is creation. Everything is like the illusions are falling, the dreams that if we aren't working towards our dreams, we're understanding like why. And if we're not, then we have some more inner work to do. However, this age of Aquarius is about creating. It's confirmation for what we've been through. Are we going to walk alongside ourselves in the same ways that we've been taught to walk alongside others? And then risk not following through with what we want and what our heart wants? That's part of that tide turning. We're learning, like, we're a sacred gift. Like, we can't just pretend like everybody else is and not ourselves. And use that for our own self-empowerment. We got to find the gratitude for the connection that we are forming with ourselves if we want to be able to be the good neighbor. And it feels really radical, and it feels really like the mess you can't unsee. Once you see it, is also, you have to grieve that.
Yes.
Grieve the life that you expected or that you'd always hoped for as a small child. We're having to do that all at the same time of all of this, because it's all being wiped away.
Yes. I love that you bring that up. This has come up a couple of times just in talking with people, not on the podcast, just in general. And I couldn't agree more. I think that's so important. Yeah. There's a lot that we have to let go of. We had a lot of we had a lot of expectations, and we're seeing them not play out. And yeah, that's huge. Grieving what was and what won't be, I think is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of loss.
A lot.
A lot of loss that we've just been trying to move so fast to just keep up with the time that doesn't even exist. So it's like, what are we doing that for?
So true. Yes.
And the North Node is in Pisces. And so that is like, the North Node is where we're going. It's very much Neptune's dissolving, because Neptune is the ruler for Pisces. And so when you tie this all into it all, it is like, I feel like we're going to feel this huge amounts of chaos through April. And then I think we're going to feel that trickle and change and huge shift. Okay, outside of the June thing or July that I'm getting could happen potentially. I think with this time is going to be a lot more clarity as we're able to really accept what we survived through.
Is there any advice or anything like that?
I think there's going to be some random power outages. I think that it's going to be a test for us. And I think that what we should use that for is to prepare, to teach us not to just expect the unexpected and take it as a like, maybe that's a sign to do what you want to do. Take yourself and your life more seriously and figure out who are your neighbors and figure out what you want to do and ask yourself, why aren't you doing it? We are in a huge perspective shift, and use it for inspiration. Okay, we don't have that right now. What do I feel inspired to do differently? It's a challenge. Challenging times are going to happen. They're going to continue to happen. We're going to feel it. it's going to feel heavy, and I just don't romanticize it. Just feel through it all. Don't run from it. I get sad and I have a hard time with a lot of it. It's just a really weird time. I think I have just always just had to, I guess I'll leave you with the whole do what you can to with every negative to see a positive. And I just truly do, even in the hardest of hard things, believe that not that everything's for a reason. And so instead of asking myself the normal, why is this happening to me? Again, I have to look at it like, what am I being shown that I can grow from that I haven't? And then I have to get excited about it. I actually, even when my saddest moments, when I wake up in the morning, and I suggest for anybody, just change the perception on things. And what gets me out of bed every morning is not just my children and not just, whatever the excitement to keep going. It's like, what's going to happen today in our world? Like, it is unfolding, and it's unfolding in front of us very quickly. And I don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
I think it's wild. And so that's, if anything, I can sit in the sadness and fear and be upset about it, or I can get up and get out of bed and say, okay, what weird things next? And then handle it with as much grace as I can, even if that means cry for 2 hours. I get out that feelings and emotions. Like, it's okay to do that. It's actually a magical power that we have that we've been taught to think isn't a magical power, and it is. It turns out that it takes more energy to resist that than it does just to let it happen and flow. Everything is as it should be, and I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely. I
So
couldn't agree.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.